Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are coming at you live with another episode 158.
You got a banger inbound as per the usual. Another week of playoffs underway. We have the championship matchup set, and it looks like it's going to be a doozy.
Yep. Some big games this past weekend. Got to say congrats real quick to Ohio State for winning the national championship in college. What's funny is that the NFL still got way more attention than the national championship in college. But congrats to them. We're here to talk about the NFL, though. Ohio State and Notre Dame might have been one of the most boring football games I've ever watched in my life. So we're not going to talk about that one because there's really not much to talk about.
I mean, once NFL playoffs start, no one cared about college football anymore.
Ohio State just shows that if you spend a ton of money on your team and you're probably going to win because you have the most talent. That's just how it works in college right now. Start us off with the stat of the week brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. Interesting stat for you, Nick. With the Commanders making the NFC Championship, there's only one team now that has not made it this century. You want to take a guess as to who that is?
I think I do know who it is.
It's the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has not made the NFC Championship in the 2000s and is the only NFC team now, with Washington ending its drought, to have not done it.
And honestly, I think that's a good thing. And the only reason is that should be a wake-up call for everybody in the front office.
Add it to
ownership,
the list.
Coaching, players, everybody. This should be a wake-up call, especially to Jerry Jones, that, hey, we got to make some severe changes because we are falling behind.
We have fallen behind everyone.
With that, your player of the week making another appearance, Jaden Daniels, who threw for 299 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 51 yards in their high-scoring rout against the Detroit Lions.
Played out of his mind.
That was an extremely fun game to
Huge
watch.
Upset.
I think people liked the Commanders, but I don't know of very many people that gave them a chance. They just thought the Lions were going to come out and steamroll them. Their offense was going to overpower Washington, but that's not what happened.
Even if he wins Rookie of the Year this year, which he probably will, what he needs to know is I don't think any player has ever made it back-to-back weeks as Player of the Week here at Under Review. So that's something he can hang his hat on. And I think that means more than Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, because he's the first player done it. But he deserves it right now because I don't think anybody saw this coming from Washington in the playoffs, and he's been the reason. So might as well just dive into it. Let's start with the Saturday games, though. Texans, Chiefs, very controversial game, as many of the Chiefs games have been recently, their playoff games especially. Chiefs pull it out with a win, beating Houston, but the story of that game was a couple questionable calls that the refs made in Kansas City's favor that definitely helped the Chiefs a little bit in their win. I wouldn't say gave them the game necessarily like everybody's wanting to do, but it certainly helped the Chiefs on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, the Texans just don't look the same as they did last year. They very lackluster. CJ Stroud looks a lot different. That offense is not as high-powered as it had been. I think the defense did a pretty decent job during that game. They just weren't really given a chance because of the offense. I mean, who knows? The Texans are still extremely young, so I don't think this is going to be that huge of a, I think that's going to be crucial for their development, in the long run. It's going to be something good that they can learn from. But the Chiefs have just been the team that wins when it matters most over the last couple years. I mean,
you think they were given the game?
I mean, I think they were definitely helped. It's just what you see on the field, just some controversial calls. Flags not being thrown, flags being thrown. But obviously, at the end of the day, I still think
two-score game at the end of the day. So
Houston had a chance to win in spite of all that. Chiefs will go on to play Buffalo.
Yep.
And a lot of people are saying this is a different Buffalo team. I mean, It looks pretty much the same as what I've
It
seen
looks
every year.
it looks eerily similar to what we see in the playoffs.
I mean, obviously, I'll be rooting for the Bills in that game, so that will be. I mean, sure, I hope that they're different, but I don't know. It's just Patrick Mahomes has always had Josh Allen's number. People keep putting up the stats that in the head-to-head records, the including regular season and playoffs, that the Chiefs and the Bills are tied, but the Chiefs are winning when it matters most, and that is in January. So
yeah, it's tough to beat playoff Kansas City, playoff Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce had himself a day against the Texans. I think at this point, the goal for everybody is to dethrone the Chiefs. You've got players tweeting about it. The whole country at this point wants them to lose. Not this guy right here. I will be standing by the Chiefs like I always have done. Going for our hometown hero and Patrick Mahomes out of White House, Texas. And not my hometown, just the hometown hero and Patrick Mahomes. So let's just talk about the Bills-Ravens game. Stay at the AFC. We'll preview the conference championship as well. But Bills-Ravens, interestingly enough, Lamar Jackson crumbles when it matters most. And I feel like there's only one show that has not been all over Lamar Jackson, but instead reminds everybody what happens at the end of the season. Nick, I think that's our show.
That would be our show. And the other thing, too, talking about the Bills being eerily similar, is they could have easily won this game by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The Ravens tried to give it away at the very beginning. I mean, some early, boneheaded turnovers. But, I mean, with a minute and a half left, less than a minute and a half left, the Ravens were a 2-point conversion away from tying the game. I mean, they had a late fumble by Mark Andrews, but in spite of all of that, they were still, like I said, a 2-point conversion away from tying the game. And it was a, great play drawn up to perfection, great throw. Mark Andrews just had some stone hands at the worst possible moment.
Yeah, obviously the Ravens faithful is all over Mark Andrews right now, saying, they need to cut him for Likely since they have Isaiah Likely, who's a beast. I think Mark Andrews had a bad fourth quarter, but the Ravens are not as good this year without Mark Andrews. He helped them get to that point. And it's pretty funny because now that Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion, everybody has Lamar Jackson has a scapegoat, which everyone's throwing right now is Mark Andrews under the bus. But we forget that Mr. MVP himself threw a just awful interception in the first half, as well as an awful fumble, a non-contact fumble essentially that he had 2 turnovers in that first half. So I don't think Lamar played his best game by any means. And honestly, it says a lot about the Bills that they let this come down to the very end to a failed 2-point conversion, because the Bills clearly had the momentum at halftime and should have come out. They had the ball first, should have come out, scored, put some points on the board, and really put this game away, but they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give props to the Ravens defense because they were kind of put in the thick of it back against the wall, but they managed to keep the Ravens in it. Ravens offense woke up in the second half, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. I mean, I still think, the Bills are going to be maybe the same old Bills. Obviously, like I said, I'd love to see them win, but I mean, it's a whole different animal playing in Arrowhead.
Yep.
In the playoffs. So, I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be a good game regardless. But, I think that's one everyone's looking forward to. That's a rivalry that's been heating up over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And so this will be a good one.
Bottom line about the Bills-Ravens game is Lamar is who we said he was. And until he proves us wrong, that's who he's going to be. Regular season, basically the James Harden of the NFL, puts up insane numbers, MVP level numbers in the regular season, gets to the playoffs, and it wasn't 100% his fault, but when you're the quarterback making the most money of anybody on the team and you have 2 awful turnovers, what we've seen that in the playoffs is the turnover margin is crucial to winning, and the Bills had 0 to the Ravens 3, and that ended up, being the difference at the end. So, hard fought season of the Ravens, but in the end, the AFC North was kind of a letdown, just like the NFC North. But to talk about the championship game between Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, you got to remember the last couple of years, Bass misses a kick at the end of it. Wasn't necessarily Josh Allen's fault. There's just a lot of things. It's not obviously just the quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks do take the majority of the blame along with the head coach. The Bills, if they've got to keep the momentum being on the road, they got to score and they got to keep scoring, because if they do what they did against Baltimore, against Kansas City, I don't think they have a chance to win.
Yeah, their offense was rolling in the first half, but it looked kind of stale there in the second half. And when you're playing in Arrowhead, you got to play 4 great quarters of football. You can't let up, you can't let your foot off the gas, because this Kansas City Chiefs team, they're just a different force to be reckoned with whenever playoffs roll around. They're clutch. They win when it matters the most. And so I think, if you're Josh Allen, you just gotta keep on it. He's been the key to their success thus far during the season. Been one of the more elite quarterbacks, and so I think a lot of their success is going to go through him. That goes without saying, because he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think if the offense can continue to be elite in scoring all 4 quarters, I think they're going to have a shot at beating Kansas City.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the offenses. Kansas City's defense is also really good, but against Josh Allen, that high-powered offense, I think it's just going to be kind of like that divisional game a couple years ago. It's probably going to come down to whoever gets the ball last, is kind of how this one's shaping out. Kansas City's tough to play against, though, right now. They're kind of heating up at just the right time like they normally do, and all of them are healthy. So, it's going to be a great game, I think, and it's definitely the game of the week. But let's shift our attention to the NFC.
I guess the last thing on the Bills is, I was just thinking about this just now. You got to give your props to Josh Allen, because a lot of the focus was shifted on him this season because Stephon Diggs goes to Houston. And so, there was a lot of question marks being put up about if the Bills are going to continue to succeed. And they honestly have been better without him than they were with him. You can look at the stats and the records and everything. So, props to them for making it to the AFC Championship. Still work to be done, but you got to give credit where credit's due.
You got one guy made it about himself, gets off the team. It's just about the team now. So it was definitely, I think, good for the locker room and good for Josh Allen, as he doesn't have to, focus on forcing it to one guy. But yeah, they're going to need all the help they can get. Everybody to step up against Kansas City, but it should be a good one. Commanders Lions, kind of another turnover heavy game for one team that lost them the game. Lions had 5 turnovers. I think Jared Goff threw 3 picks and Jameson Williams threw a pick, and then they had a fumble as well. You're not going to win a game with 5 turnovers.
No.
You're just not. Even though they had earlier this season, you're not going to win a playoff game with 5 turnovers.
And one thing we had talked about was the Lions defense, and that was make or break. They gave up 45 points.
Yep.
The Commanders offense, everybody was having a great game. They had their way with the Lions defense. And so, that's kind of what we had been saying over the last couple weeks about the Lions, is that their defense hasn't been very good, and that's going to be the reason of their downfall. And that was the reason of their downfall this past week. And the other thing, too, is the Lions are They already lost Ben Johnson. He goes to the Bears, and we're talking about this on Tuesday, so something might change between
now and the morning. Yeah, it could change.
Aaron Glenn is looking like.
Well, Adam Schefter did report that they are losing both coordinators.
He's looking like he's going to the Jets.
He's going somewhere.
If that's where he's going to land, but he is gone.
They're leaving.
So obviously the defense is what needed the most work, but you're losing. I think, the best offensive coordinator in the game right now.
Definitely.
Whether it translates to being a head coach is another story, but a huge part of the Detroit Lions' success, I think you can give to Ben Johnson, and he's gone.
Absolutely. Like I said before, okay, first of all the credit in the world to Washington. They came in, defense and offense just came in and took the game by storm. It was close, but they really stole. I mean, they stole the game from the Lions. This was a huge upset, but it wasn't a fluke. It was like this was definitely the better team won, is what it looked like. Like we said before, the 5 turnovers, I mean, that's what did it. That killed the Lions. But, that's the defense stepping up and getting those turnovers for Washington. So the defense looks great. We had no doubt the defense would be better under DQ, our guy who should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but he's not because that would have been the smart thing to do. But also, like, Jaden Daniels has been playing out of his mind. People are saying he's the best rookie quarterback they've ever seen. It's hard to disagree right now, just as far as he's taken a team that really wasn't supposed to be that good this year. So huge props to them, and we are huge Commanders fans right now, as tough as that is to say.
Yeah, I was about to say, obviously you'll know who we're rooting for.
Sunday.
Yeah, they're going into Philly. And I mean, we just hope, we were talking about this a little bit off air before. We hope they can continue that fire, but you just
teams that play Philly.
Sometimes Philly gets lucky, and all of a sudden, whoever they're playing forgets how to play football. I thought the Rams
that happened on
were going to do it, and let's just go ahead and talk about that game. Obviously, Saquon Barkley's been having a great season for Philly, carrying that offense. I mean, he is the reason.
You say anything differently.
They're
like the last 2 games, Jalen Hurts has had under 150 passing yards.
I was going to say
he hasn't had to do anything.
Ran for over 202 touchdowns. Had like 27 carries or something like that.
Jalen Hurts looked scared in the pocket the entire game. Was taking ridiculous sacks. Took a crazy safety at a time where you really couldn't take a safety. Now, the Rams made sure that Philly got the ball back in the red zone very quickly, but Saquon Barkley's having a great year, and he's an Eagle.
And the thing with the Rams is the game was there for the taking, like 17,000 different times. I mean, right after the safety, they fumbled, and then the possession they got after that, they fumbled again, and then they get the ball with 2 minutes or whatever it was.
It's like 5 minutes though. They went and scored, and then
they get the ball back down 6.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Touchdown, PAT wins the game. They drive all the way down the field.
To the 20.
Take a dumb false start penalty, dumb sack, and then throw it away on 4th down. The game's over.
Yeah, got our hopes up for no reason. Honestly, LA looked like, a college team in the South that has never played in the snow before. I mean, you're a professional football team, and they came out. It started snowing really bad in the second half, and they're dropping the ball everywhere. They were not only fumbling, they were also dropping wide open passes. I mean, dude, I get it. I wouldn't be able to catch a ball thrown by Matt Stafford in snow probably, but I'm not a professional football player. You're supposed to be catching these balls that are, I mean, they're hitting their chest. These are ones you're supposed to be, grabbing in close to the chest. But like we said before, these teams that should be beating the Eagles will come in and forget to play how to play football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly's defense is good. I don't think they're, amazing. I don't think they're, you can score on them. And they showed on Sunday that they're not as good when you're high tempo, no huddle kind of offense. But Philly, in a snow game where running is key, who has the better running back and O-line? That'd be Philly. And that showed. And Saquon Barkley is having a remarkable season. He's a great player. There's no taking that away from him. So for Washington and watching that film, it's going to be, how do we take away Saquon? And you put this game in the arms of Jalen Hurts. And I think
you're golden.
Yeah, because and the way to do that is what Washington's great at. Score and keep scoring. If you can stay ahead, then they have to throw the ball.
Offense needs to keep doing what they've been doing. Obviously, last time Commanders and Philly played, it came down to a game-winning drive from Jaden Daniels, which was remarkable to see.
I think they came back from a big deficit. I don't remember what the deficit was.
And defensively, you just got to, as it's obviously easier said than done, but take away the run game. That's obviously insanely hard because Saquon is the best running back this season. He's been a game changer, you got to anticipate what they're going to do.
Jalen Hurts looked like he kind of had a knee injury or a leg injury going, which made him pretty immobile. I don't know the status of that injury right now, but it does kind of seem like that read option is going to be kind of taken away because of that. You kind of just got to sell out on Saquon. If Jalen Hurts is going to beat you with his legs, then he'll beat you with his legs. But you got to sell out for Saquon. I wouldn't be super scared to play man or press coverage right now either, just because he's not looking like a great passer at the moment.
And I mean, even before everyone says that this is biased, I've even been seeing on Twitter a bunch of Philly fans saying they're winning in spite of Jalen Hurts' gameplay. So this isn't just a bunch of sour Cowboys fans spewing out against the Eagles. I've seen a lot of Philly fans kind of coming at Jalen Hurts, but
you look at it from a football perspective, he's not playing great.
Just what we're seeing on the field.
But Saquon, it's you win however you can. They're winning with Saquon right now. They're winning.
At the end of the day, if you're winning, you're winning.
Yeah.
But it's just analyzing the game and figuring out, weak points and exploiting those.
Right now, it's the quarterback.
And so, obviously, like I said, dude, the Commanders' offense just needs to stay hot. They've had Terry McLaurin's been on a tear. Brian Robinson's been really good. Jane Daniels, Zach Ertz, Zacchaeus, even he's come out of the woodworks a little bit. Austin Eckler's been really productive.
De'Ami Brown has been.
You just got to keep it up, keep that high tempo.
Good. This is a good thing because it's a divisional matchup. They've played each other twice already in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen a lot of. They're going to have to kind of come up with some new things to catch the other team off guard. If you look at who has the better offensive coordinator, it's Washington and Cliff Kingsbury. And even though we just interviewed Kellen Moore for our head coaching position, which I think would be a terrible decision.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because Jerry keeps trying to keep it in-house, bringing back people that played here or coached here at one point as a coordinator or this, that, and the other. But, it's not going to work.
I just think it's going to come down. I think it's going to come down to Washington getting ahead, and they've got to stay ahead, force Philly to throw the ball.
What was working for the Rams was when they were doing a lot of no huddle, a lot of hurry up offense, keeping the defense on their heels, not giving them a second to breathe.
Yeah.
I think that's going to help a lot too.
You force a lot of third and longs because Philly was not great with third and long, and the 1/3 and really long they converted was a screen pass to Saquon. So like we said, you gotta hone in on where Saquon is, what he's doing, even if it's a pass, and try to eliminate that.
And it's going to be, I think we're going to see a whole different, game defensively from Philly, just because you're going from Matt Stafford to Jaden Daniels, where obviously one quarterback is way more mobile than the other. So
you don't have to worry about him running.
Jaden Daniels is going to handle that pass rush a little bit better.
Hopefully.
Escapability, mobility back there in the
Hopefully pocket. He doesn't remember he's a rookie on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been playing like he's a 5-year vet in his prime. So hopefully
seen the playoffs a billion times.
Yeah, hopefully he keeps playing that way. And I'd be happy for DQ if he can make it to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, absolutely. We're still huge. I mean, love to see Dan Quinn succeed because he was a great defensive coordinator when he was here in Dallas. We loved what he was about, loved what he did. Was really hoping that
he would have been the perfect guy.
He would have been the head coach for us.
Keep it in house like
last year. Whenever he made it clear that he wasn't going to DC for us anymore, and we were hoping that he was going to come back as a head coach. But then Washington hires him, and then boom, they're playing in the NFC Championship.
We knew we were going to let Mike McCarthy walk, and we still didn't rehire him.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
Yep.
So here's like to end our shows on Under Review. I brought you a quote from the Vince Lombardi, and he said, "If it doesn't matter who wins or loses, then why do they keep score?"
Exactly. They're winners and losers, and we're hoping Philly is big losers on Sunday. Enjoy these championship games because There are 2 more Sundays left.
I was about to say the football season is rapidly coming to a close. As quickly as it began, is gone.
It does seem like it just started very recently. We're very sad to be seeing it go, but enjoy these playoffs, enjoy the conference championships games, and we will see y'all next week.